Good evening, CABC family. How's it going tonight on this night after a big day for the Alabama Crimson Tide, National Signing Day, the early National Signing Day? I keep messing that up.
No, you can say it's National Signing.
It's National Signing Day. We can officially go with that now. Like
February is the JV version from here on out. It's basically that's the trend. So.
All right. Well, I'm down with it. Big day for Alabama. Alabama finishes with the top class again for, I believe, the 8th out of the last 9 years. They finished with the top class. So, John, I know you were at Trey Sanders' commitment today. If you would just kind of, just recap a little bit of what went on there, how everything went, and obviously Trey picked Alabama. Just kind of, just give us a little brief rundown of how his commitment ceremony went today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, really, really classy of him to want to go back home to Port St. Joe to do it. It's been a rough go for those guys out there. It's in the Panhandle of Florida, hit real hard by hurricanes the last couple months, and it was kind of devastating to drive into. But it was cool to see everyone at such a happy gathering point for Trey, a small town like that on national TV. Pretty cool. So that aside, obviously there was a lot of angst leading into today, and it made sense because Trey and his father told us, hey, this thing wasn't decided until this morning. That was when everything was kind of finalized. They drove up from IMG yesterday, had 6 hours to go back and forth, and Dad told me, he said, look, this thing went back and forth with, he said, 1 million schools. But Alabama has always been there for Trey. Bama has never really truly lost that top spot for Trey. And it goes back to even when he decommitted on New Year's Day. He told us, I'm decommitted, but Alabama's still my top school. And he meant that. So I think in the end, when it got crazy and it got stressful and the pressure increased, and you can hear the rain here, sorry, as I'm still driving back, Alabama was just that constant, that comfort. And obviously that's what won out over Georgia, who did finish second. I know there was some Florida chatter. Florida might have finished fourth, actually. Florida State was the dark horse that we thought Texas was in terms of a school that actually had a shot. Florida State was in the conversation more than people realized, and Dad was kind of on that side of the coin, wanting Trey to pick FSU if it were up to him. So good job by the parents for kind of backing off, letting Trey do his thing. There was talk of Mom wanting Florida, Dad wanting FSU. So obviously Trey picks Alabama, and Georgia would have been in second. So they truly did kind of step back and leave it up to him, which is not always the case. So that was kind of nice to see. But there was a lot of angst, a lot of Gators colors in the crowd. I think a lot of people expected Florida. Everyone I spoke to at the school, student-wise, beforehand, was all talking Florida and Texas. There was no Georgia, Bama, anything. FSU. So that was a little odd, but for some reason the whole student body thought he was going to Texas. But that's why they're students at a high school. Maybe they were just trying to mess with me. I'm not sure. But either way, as we got there just after lunchtime, we had just started hearing all the tangible buzz for Alabama. And it turns out that it was for a reason, because that's when he actually notified the coaching staffs of his decision right around lunchtime today after sleeping on it. He woke up, he went to bed Bama, woke up Bama. So obviously he committed to Alabama. And I'm told as of the last half hour that there's not much to worry about with that letter of intent. I've been driving, so I don't know if it's come in yet, but I was told there's not much to worry about. Trey said he was going to sign it later in general, meaning this week, but maybe not today. So that's from Trey and his father and his camp.
Yeah, there's it's still reported that it hasn't been sent in yet, and like you said, I know they were celebrating and doing all that stuff with Trey and the parents and everything. So guys, it's already been asked in the live chat about the letter of intent. Just guys know that
verbally committed until that letter comes in, but there's not as far as we know, and I've actually got this confirmed in Tuscaloosa from sources there. This is not a Roquan Smith scenario. This is not what was it, Eno Benjamin a few years ago. Um, this is just a kid who hasn't sent it in yet. That's all it is, and he's got till Friday to do it. So I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as some will make it out to be. But it's 2018 and it's signing day, so here we are.
Of course, the Georgia fans have already been hitting it hard that there's still a chance for Georgia, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, technically, sure, why not?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that he's given the commitment to Alabama, and that's where he'll eventually send that letter of intent in. So, and then now that one is kind of out of the way, I know you were tracking the DJ Williams situation last night, and I know that, I know what I now know what you wanted to break. While the information that you got, we all know now that DJ is committed to Auburn, and I'm assuming, like you said, I'm assuming that that's what you got last night, and did he kind of get fed up with the waiting, or did he just choose Auburn as where he wanted to go because that's where he wanted to go, or was he just done waiting and wanted to go wherever he wanted?
Well, I was gonna say, do you want what he told me, or do you want what I think?
Well,
he told me. I'll start there. He told me that he'd been leaning Auburn since that mid-November visit.
Yeah, the political answer. Yeah.
Right. That since the mid-November visit, he does love Tim Horton, the running backs coach, who's a good guy, and I think that was part of it. And then look, Auburn has a huge need at running back. Asa Martin just transferred to Miami. They relied on a freshman who couldn't stay healthy this past year in Boobie Whitlow. They've got Cam Martin and Malik Miller, just guys who aren't Sean Shivers, guys you're not going to give the ball to 25 times a game. So in that light, Auburn made the most sense. We all know what kind of backfields Georgia and Alabama have. It's not exactly the same. So in that light, you understand Auburn. Auburn offered before these other guys did. Georgia offered. Alabama never truly offered, and there was some uncertainty from DJ's perspective there. So I'm sure that wasn't the funnest thing to navigate leading up to signing day. And then later, I was told that Georgia might have moved to another guy as well, and they might still move to another guy. Alabama would have had to make a decision if it did not get Trey, potentially between DJ Williams and DeAndre Glass. And one source I spoke to said that Glass actually would have gotten the nod over Williams, which I don't agree with, but I'm not making those decisions. So I think the uncertainty and the domino effect that we were all waiting on, it was just too much. And yesterday around this time, DJ was about done with it, which is why you saw my reaction on the live show yesterday when DJ told me he was going to Auburn, and I had to kind of remove myself from the situation because I had a new story to write and some things to comprehend. So it was at that moment that I thought, okay, now there's some shifted momentum for Trey to Alabama, and that only continued through today and him actually picking Alabama. So it all kind of works together in a fun, crazy, wild way. But that was the DJ Williams situation from last night and how it worked out for Alabama. So you understand kind of all the perspectives, I think. And in the end, I think DJ made the right call going to Auburn. I think he may get carries day one on the Plains. And he's an early enrollee, all of those things. So that'll be interesting for Alabama fans because now you got to face him every year. So we'll see. We'll see how that evaluation, that comparison between Williams and Sanders works out. But either way, I don't think you could go wrong either way. I think it was a win-win for Alabama, whether it was Sanders, Williams, even Glass, who I believe is still signing in February. I think it was going to kind of work out either way. But obviously, Bama wanted Trey Sanders. both for perception and for, you had him committed 18 months. You invested a lot of time in the kid. You wanted him back, and Bama did it. So that's not easy to do, and they did it with him and Evan Neal. So kind of a strut your stuff, flex what you got kind of day for Alabama, and that's what we expect when letter of intent start rolling in.
Yeah, definitely. It was a good day. It was a good day for the Tide. They added the offensive line need that I thought they needed. They added Trey at running back. And then pretty much everybody except for the the Dax Hill, all the committed guys, well, almost all the committed guys signed.
Yeah, well, and then you flip Jordan Battle. So.
And then so you lose Dax Hill, which I honestly don't think was ever a real flip to begin with. I think he was kind of trolling, but so you lose that, but you flip Jordan Battle. So I mean, now you replace the flip that you had with Jordan Battle. So
imagine losing the number one player in your state 9 days prior, losing a 5-star commitment the morning of signing day, and still being the positive talk of letter of intent day because of what you closed with. Imagine that. That's what Alabama just did.
Yeah,
lost the number one player in the state, lost their highest rated commitment and a 5-star who you just flipped, and there's still the talk of college football recruiting because of how they closed on Sanders and Neal, flipped Battle, and a big story that's not getting enough pub, holding on to Brandon Turnage, holding on to Justin Eboigbe.
That's it.
Holding on to Jeff Carter. These were not 100% guarantees going into the day. So Bama had almost an ideal day. Dax Hill's situation was the only one that wasn't ideal, and Bama was so well ahead and so out front that they could survive something like that and not getting the Kobe Dean, which was another blow. But I thought it wasn't as bad of a blow when you got Christian Harris on board a few weeks ago. So it all kind of worked out. If you lost a guy, it's like Bama replaced the guy at that position. You didn't get Dean, but you locked in Christian Harris. You didn't get Dax Hill, but you flipped Jordan Battle. So numbers wise, positionally, it was kind of a B plus A minus day for Alabama. But just amazing what they could survive and still be the number one class running away and being the talk of college football recruiting.
Yeah, and then so you lose or you miss out on the Nakobe Dean at inside linebacker, but then you also have to feel good about being in the race for Henry To'oTo'o out of California. And I know he's not an early guy, but you still got to feel good about that.
Right. You're still in it. I mean, this is the thing. This class is not done, y'all. I mean,
yeah,
Henry To'oTo'o, Ishmael Sopsher, Nathan Pickering, Akeem Dent, Noah Pulla-Gates. There are names out there. Did Pulla-Gates sign? I've been on the road. I'm not sure. I don't think he did.
I haven't seen him.
There are names out there. Heck, in state, Christian Williams, DJ James, who we talked about and broke some news on yesterday's show with. Now what happens with those guys? So there are still a lot of moving parts this Alabama class, but it basically locked in the number one spot and only has the chance to increase that and threaten, GOAT status in terms of a recruiting class in a given cycle. So, again, pretty close to ideal if you're an Alabama fan tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. I think that it was just I thought it was kind of comical this morning to see everybody kind of start panicking when you lost when Daxton Hill went back to Michigan. It was kind of funny to me to see the kind of panic in Bama fans, but then I mean obviously one of the best jobs I've seen closing a day, a national signing day. I mean, closed with almost perfection with their big targets. So
yeah, that's the beauty of sports, right? I mean,
I know
we're all in, and then we're not. And then it's terrible, and then it's great, and then it's like the terrible thing never happened. But that's why in the South down here, it's the lifeblood. It's everything. And I think today was a good example of that. There were Bama fans fighting Bama fans, and coaches were getting fired on Twitter, and it was typical. It was as if Bama laid an egg against Oklahoma and got blown out on the 29th. That's kind of what it was like for about 2 hours this morning with public perception. But that's the beauty of it. It can always come back around, and it's like a sweeter victory if you're an Alabama fan. Like
I
if it was
know.
just chalk and you just got the #1 class and everybody committed, you'd be very happy. But it's more satisfying when you took a shot and then you rallied with a haymaker or two, and then you got the knockout in the end. It's just the Rocky story is more satisfying than the Drago story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously, and the one big thing that, like you said, that I take away from it is you didn't have any of the main commits. You didn't lose any of them. I know a lot of people were worried about a Boygby, and a lot of people were worried about some of the other commits flipping. But I mean, you got most of the ones that were. Well, you got all the ones that decided they were signing early. You got all of them to sign. And they even took some ones that I wasn't sure they were going to take early. The Tanner Bowles letter of intent's in.
Yep.
So I mean, they've signed a really good offensive line class. I mean, I think they could this 5-man offensive line class that they signed. Me and you were talking about it earlier. I mean, you could be looking at a starting 5 that they signed in this class just alone.
A pair of 6'7" offensive tackles, not a bad way to
Yeah, I
trot
mean,
off the bus.
you got bookend tackles with Amari Kite and Evan Neal, and then you got the guards, and I think Tanner Bowles and Pierce Quick both will be guards, and then Darian Dalcourt can snap the ball at center. So I think that it's just that up front class is really good, really impressive, and then they finish strong with the Evan Neal commitment.
Yeah, and going back to defense, Kev, Dak, the positions I think are worthy of bringing back up, because in the secondary, a lot of people view Battle as a safety and they view Dax Hill as a safety. And it wasn't a trade-off. It wasn't we lost this guy, so let's go get this guy kind of thing. Uh, Quick reminder, Bama recruited Battle as a corner almost the whole way. And that's the position Battle prefers. Now, he's willing to play safety if need be, but he prefers corner. So I don't think those two, they both flipped today, so that there's going to be a correlation. They're going to be brought up together. I get it. But it wasn't hey, we lost this guy, let's go get this guy. Kind of like what Georgia did. Hey, Justin Fields is transferring, let's go flip Ohio State's quarterback commitment. That one seemed a lot more relatable. This one was independent of one another. If anything, it magnifies how important it was to hold on to the safety commitments in this class. Holding on to Brandon Turner, despite him being from Oxford, Mississippi. A ton of Ole Miss smoke for a year, it felt like. And then even hanging on to DeMarco Hellams in D.C. with the Loxley stuff at Maryland, there was a little bit of uncertainty there. So I think it magnifies holding on to the guys that we know are safety types, more so than the guy we think can play safety. We know Jordan Battle can play safety, but we know he can play corner too. Think of him in the Josh Jobe mold. He's got safety size, but he's got corner ability, which speaks to how athletic he really is. So just keep those in mind. It's not A and B, black and white, with Dax Hill and Jordan Battle. Separate them in your memory if you can, and think of that safety position. It was more important to hold on to Turnage and Hellams in that regard, relating to Dax Hill, not necessarily Jordan Battle. Bama wanted several corner types in this class. You signed Jeff Carter, who you flipped from A&M, and then you signed Jordan Battle, who you flipped from Ohio State, and then you're still going to be in it for at least one more corner, whether it's holding on to Christian Williams in February, going after DJ James, and another flip in February, maybe Noah Pola Gates or somebody we're not even talking about right now. So I think there's still room for another DB in this class. So I'm sure we'll talk plenty about that going forward. But just kind of wanted to get it out there, like separate Dax Hill and Jordan Battle kind of in the same category of thinking, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just didn't see it. Also, I didn't see it correlating because I mean,
it didn't help that it was like 20 minutes apart or whatever.
yeah, they happened almost simultaneously.
Right.
It was Jordan Battle commits, and then literally like 10, 15 minutes later, the Dax Hill Michigan Post came out. So, I think a lot of people got the conception that, oh well, he flipped back to Michigan because Jordan Battle flipped. Well, not necessarily. So
yeah, I got a few tweets. Oh, he was scared to compete. Like,
yeah, I
number
mean,
one safety in the country should be scared to compete.
yeah.
The only thing I think that was kind of off about it, and like you said, Kev, the flip to Bama from Dax was kind of out of nowhere, at least a little bit.
Yeah.
But he initiated that. He put out a statement. He did it. Today it was just Michigan football, like boom, we signed
Yeah,
Dax Hill.
Michigan football tweet. That was it. Like,
yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't
So I
see
thought that
anything.
was the only inconsistency was that Dax never kind of put his piece out there, and
Yeah.
explained anything. Which, hey, it's it's your signature. Who cares? But from our perspective, that was the only inconsistency that kind of caught my attention. Like, wow, Michigan broke this news, not the kid.
Yeah, exactly. It was one of those ones. It was just kind of, not necessarily sketchy, but I mean, I just wasn't feeling it. From the beginning when he flipped the first time. But, yeah, I mean, so now that we got early signing day past us and Alabama's class has started to take shape, but there's still big names out there.
Oh yeah.
Which one of these big names do you think has the best chance of ending up in Alabama's class? Out of the big names, Sopsher, Keem Dent, the ones that haven't signed yet, George Pickens. Out of these guys,
Those are some names right there.
yeah, but I mean, I'm gonna throw big ones out there at you.
I like it. I like it.
But who would you feel the most comfortable saying ends up in Bama's class
Well,
in February?
there were allotted spots for guys who obviously didn't pick Alabama in the
Yeah.
last 2 weeks. I mean, you're talking about Clay Webb. You're talking about Darnell Wright down the road. There could have been another receiver spot. Keon Zipper. If he called Nick today, I believe Nick would have taken him. So you wonder, okay, where do those get delegated out? And maybe I'm prisoner of the moment because I was just watching them for a week, but it does make you wonder about George Pickens a little bit. He's really liked the direction of the Alabama offense. It was the first school he mentioned last week when we asked about other schools still trying to change his mind. He did not sign with Auburn today as expected, and he's going to take a bunch of visits. So with his teammate Will Riker now on board, and he tweeted he was in Tuscaloosa, so I don't know if he's enrolling. He is an early enrollee, but I don't know if it's today. There could be some momentum there. He knows Paul Tyson, he knows Talia. They're all Birmingham kids. So is Bo Nix for that matter. But it just makes you wonder, how hard is Bama going to push? Because I think that's always been the unknown in tracking George Pickens. Everybody thinks Auburn's got a good shot to hold on to him, unless we know Alabama is full pedal to the metal after him. And it's fluctuated. There is no doubt that it is fluctuated. So I wonder now, with, 22 guys signed? I wonder now if maybe Bama says, you know what? Let's go ahead and hit the gas on this thing and see what happens. Because I would imagine George is going to take it all the way to February 6th.
Yeah.
That gives you a good amount of time, 6-7 weeks, to roll out the red carpet or the crimson carpet with the kid who has not yet taken an official to Alabama. So he's the one I'm most interested in, but I don't think he's the most likely. I think that still probably has to be Sopsher. Positional need, long-term recruitment, priority from day one kind of thing. But hey, LSU's got to feel pretty good. They closed a lot better than people would have expected. They competed for Nakobe Dean. They did get Radarius Jones. They got Siaki Ika. LSU closed really well. They got Cardell Flott to sign, even though he just 24 hours ago he wasn't ready. Um, LSU put its closing hat on and did some things. So I think that battle with Sofsher is going to be a little bit more interesting over the next 6-7 weeks. So I still think he's the most likely just because of the positional need. But George Pickens has my attention more on the Alabama side than I thought I would be saying even 2 or 3 days ago.
Yeah, I like the fact for Alabama. I like that their chances with Sopsher just because LSU did add Ika today. So you got to think that maybe that was an insurance policy in case Sopsher falls through. So I did like that for Bama's chances with Sopsher. The fact that LSU did add Siaki Ika to their
Yeah,
class.
that was a big one. Florida was the school he had recently visited and was probably the trending school. But again, LSU, there's certain positions where LSU can still flex on almost anybody, and when you go on defense,
Yeah,
it's a lot more likely for the
pretty much
Tigers.
any
I
defense.
think the Gators experienced that with Ika and with Cardell Flott, because if he didn't sign with LSU this week, I think he would have flipped to Florida. So Ed Orgeron pulled a few ones over on Dan Mullen, although Keon Zipper did stick with Florida despite the late push from LSU. So Mullen got him back on that one. So just interesting SEC East and West recruiting and how it affects Alabama. I'm with you though. I think Sopsher is still probably the most likely, but and largely, hey, it might just be because we know exactly what Bama wants with him, and with almost all the other guys, whether it's Pola Gates, To'o, Keem Dent, George Pickens, DeAndre Glass, we don't know. We don't 100% know today. That may change, but today I don't feel as confident in saying Bama wants those guys as much as I do with Sopsher.
Yeah, and how about the Gators closing all three of the Lakeland kids?
Yeah, it was a little nostalgic, right? Dan Mullen
Yeah,
closing on some Lakeland offensive guys. Like, what?
I know.
Like circa 2006, you know?
I
But
know, right? That's what, and I kept thinking about it today. I was like, usually and Lakeland was good this year, so remember the pipeline earlier, like in the early 2000s. I mean, Lakeland was a powerhouse in Florida, and when Lakeland was good, the Gators were rolling because they were pulling kids out of Lakeland.
yeah, Lakeland and Polk County in general, the biggest
Yeah,
county in Florida, has always been Gator territory. It's just that, when things aren't going so good and, McElwain's there and Muschamp's there and it's kind of falling apart a little bit, other people took advantage, whether it was FSU, Miami. I mean, heck, Bama came in and got commitments from that county. So it just shows you when things are right, which programs benefit from their recruiting territories. So that was that was good for the Gators, and it definitely feels like they're a little closer to back than I would have expected a year ago when Mullen got the gig. So kudos to that staff. They're working hard, and I think that's good for the SEC. You need balance. You need some of these Eastern teams to potentially threaten Georgia, right? I mean, you need
right.
Florida to rise up. I mean, Missouri's like quarterback you all of a sudden. You need them to rise up. Tennessee, like what is Pruitt going to do in February when a lot of his top targets are ready to announce? You need some balance in the SEC because it's like Bama's going to go through a gauntlet every year, and then Georgia's going to kind of just cruise on into Atlanta and be the healthier, more ready team to finally finish against Alabama, which obviously they haven't been able to do.
Yeah, for sure. It is good to see some East teams stacking up to maybe be able to compete with Georgia. Because I mean, nobody wants to see the same teams every year. Like I like it when the East is good. When the East is good, like the SEC is really interesting. Just because I think that there's a lot of teams in the East that don't get a lot of love, and when you get good teams coming out, remember when when Missouri came into the SEC and everybody was like, Missouri will never do anything in the SEC, and then they went to 2 straight SEC
Straight to
championships.
Atlanta. Yeah.
Like they were hanging out in Atlanta right from the jump. So, but I do
They
like.
got destroyed both times.
Oh yeah, both times they got absolutely annihilated.
was the last
But
time an Eastern team won? Well, I guess last year.
Florida. Oh, Georgia.
No,
Yeah,
besides Georgia.
Florida, right?
Florida 07, 08?
Like Tim Tebow.
Jeez. Think about that.
Yeah. Jesus.
Man, the
Wow.
West has definitely won a lot.
Yeah.
We got any questions or anything? I'm finally near the end of my
Yeah.
15-day
So
journey away from
yeah,
home.
yeah, we'll run through the live chat real quick and see. I mean, there's a bunch of good stuff in here talking. A bunch of good.
Yeah, Kev's a good man, guys. He's gonna hang out with you guys for a little bit, but I will not. So sorry.
No, I know that I know you're getting close to the house and being gone for 2 weeks. I know you're ready to be there. I mean, really, the big guys. I don't know if you weren't in here before. The I know we're getting a lot of questions about Trey's paperwork still. Guys, don't worry about Trey's paperwork. Um, there's the intent to sign. There was celebration stuff going on afterwards, so don't be too alarmed about that. I know it's been
At least that's what we're told.
yeah. I mean, that's what we've been told. So let's see. Um, let's see who will be the Christopher McDonald. Who will be the next left tackle? Leatherwood or Neal? Right now, I mean, I think obviously Leatherwood would be a prime candidate to move to the left tackle position. But really, if we're talking, I mean, it's really who would be the right tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Neal's going to come in and start at left tackle as a true freshman. I guess I wouldn't rule it out, but
Yeah,
it's just hard to. I mean, who's done that at Bama? Cam Robinson and Jonah. Well,
Jonah.
on the right.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's really it. So and Neal still has a little bit of work to do. I know he's down. He's down. He's down in weight, but I think once he gets into the program there at Bama, I think he'll shed that extra weight a little bit too. We talked about it earlier. I expect him to be around like 330, 335 whenever he goes to take the field. So you're talking about a kid that's gone from damn near 400 pounds to now he's down to 335, and he moves well, and he's moved even better as he's lost weight. And now you're going to put him into a program like Alabama's lifting program, and he's just gonna get better, and he's gonna lose the weight. He's gonna get in better shape. So,
I got you for one more, boss.
Okay, one more. Let's make it good.
No math problems.
I wouldn't do that to you because I can't do math either.
Don't know how many spots left. It depends on the signature and all that stuff.
Yeah. So let me see let's get a good. Okay. A lot of people want to know about Chris Bogle. What do you think?
He's going to announce at the All-American Bowl January 5th, NBC.
Yep.
24/7 Sports will be on hand. I think this becomes such a need for Mark Richt. After the day they've had, they have to land Chris Bogle, and they have to contend for Akeem Dent. I think Alabama could use another edge guy. They've got a couple in this class, so I don't think it's a true need. But man, Miami needs something positive on the trail. Just a rough day. FSU flipped one of their commits. They lost out on a couple of other guys. It was just they had a flip a couple days ago from Miami to Michigan. Jaron Williams is transferring. It's kind of falling apart. I think they're in the 40s in the 24/7 Sports rankings.
Yeah.
So my point is this. This is like the 11th hour recruit that Miami needs to keep home. And I just don't think he's as important to Alabama. Doesn't mean he won't go to Alabama, but I just think it's such a need for Miami that I think they find a way to lock him in. And he's the beginning of the turnaround per se. So I do think Miami's a little bit more of a trendy pick for me. I've never gotten a Bama vibe from Bogle. Been around him for a couple of years now. I just never got that vibe. But he's an elite edge rusher, no doubt. And obviously Bama missed on Nolan Smith and Kayvon Thibodeau. But you signed King Makuta, you signed Kevin Harris, and you signed these freaky edge guys who are, they play like they're smaller, but they can put their hand in the dirt too with Antonio Alfano and Justin Eboigbe. And then you're probably going to sign Byron Young, who can do some of those things too in February. So I just need-wise, I don't see it as much as maybe some others do. So because of all of those things, I think Miami would be where my projection would be. So, all right.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, fellas, ladies, whoever's listening, thank you guys for hanging out, and Kev, always appreciate you, man. Hardest working man in the business right there, y'all. Treat him good. I'm out.
I don't know about that, but I'll see you in a couple days, buddy.
All right, man. Peace.
Later. So yeah, again, thank you, John, for as always coming on and being with us on sign day. My man is. If you haven't been keeping track of what he's been doing, my man has been gone 2 weeks straight, and he's been working his ass off, getting this information and working these leads and working his sources and just having all this, prime information. He was at Trey's thing today. He drove home tonight, and just want to say thanks to him because he's been, a big part of getting me going in this and everything else. So just want to say thanks to him before I keep going. So let's see. Will Trey Sanders win the Heisman as a freshman? No. I don't think you can win the Heisman on 10 carries a game. I know a lot of people have asked about Pola Gates. Some people have said, they think he's missed out. Pola Gates could still wind up in the class. I really like him. I think he's a good kid. And I think he's a decent. He would be a good kid at safety for the Tide. So whether he's missed out, I don't think so. Nick was there. Nick was in house with him. Before signing day and everything went down. So I think he's still there's a good chance he could end up in Alabama's class. Let's see here. Are we still looking at a potential gray shirt in this class? And if so, who? Well, all the people that I thought were potential gray shirts are either on campus or have signed letters of intent already. So my choices for gray shirts would have been Paul Tyson, Tanner Bowles. Those would have been kind of my two gray shirt picks. But Paul Tyson's already on campus practicing with the team, and Tanner Bowles sent in his letter of intent today. So, I just think that – and I there's really not anybody else in the class that I would consider gray shirting. So that's where that is. Who is more likely to get it right? Who's more likely to get it right, or Pickens? Well, I think I am almost 100% sure Darnell Wright won't be in Alabama's class. I think he ends up probably at Tennessee, because I honestly don't think there's room for him at Alabama. So if I had to go off that one, I would say Pickens would be the more likely out of those two. I think Pola Gates will end up in the class. Yes. Does Glass commit to Bama if there is room? I don't think there is room. He said Alabama led, but I think DeAndre Glass was a good backup plan if they missed out on Trey Sanders. But with them getting Trey Sanders, I think that DeAndre Glass is going to get kind of pushed out. So I think he winds up at Oklahoma State, to be honest. So that's where That's where Glass is. I just don't think there's room. But if there was room, I mean, he said Alabama would lead. So if there was room, I think he would commit. But I just don't think there's room. So did Paul Tyson use an athletic scholarship? Yes, he did. Who do you think is most likely to transfer after this year? I honestly don't see a major transfer for the Tide. Obviously, there's the chance that Jalen will transfer. I know there's the report going around that he's applied and been accepted to grad school. So there's that. So, but we know that he's gonna? Do we know that he's gonna stay? We don't know that he's gonna stay, but we don't know that he's gonna transfer. But I don't see a major transfer. I like Paul Gates, but would you give up Sopsher, Toa, Bogle, or Young if you take him in January? Now it's about numbers and priority. It is definitely about numbers, and there's going to be limited spots. I think you're probably down to maybe four at the most. You're going to have 5 maybe. So you're looking at 4 probably. Yeah, Sopsher would have a spot. Toa. So yeah, you're really looking at some nitpicking here when it comes to who's gonna be left come February 6th, because it's just they're just running out. They're running out of spaces, which is it's a good thing, and you still have a solid number of highly rated recruits out there to fill those couple of spaces. So. Ben Davis might transfer, but he's a legacy, so he may not. I don't know what's up with that kid. So I'm not gonna speak on Ben Davis because I like Ben Davis, but he definitely hasn't done anything at Alabama, and it's been sad. So let's see. Does Robinson decommit? I don't think so. He's been solid. He's come out and said that he's solid even after Loxley left and went to Maryland, took the Maryland job. He said he was solid, and the report is that Loxley has said he's not going to try to flip any Bama guys. So I think Robinson's solid. He'd be a nice change of pace back for the Tide. So I just wanted – okay. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Thoughts on it. Okay. So I'll give you my thoughts, Joel Diaz on the if you weren't in here earlier, I talked about the Dax Hill flip, and I know you wanted to – I see you wanted an opinion on it. My thing on the Dax Hill flip is I don't think Dax Hill was ever really fully committed to flipping to Alabama. I think there was some behind the scenes things going on. And when he flipped, there were usually when the flip happens, there's some rumblings and there's some traction and all of that. But there was no traction with the Dax Hill flip. It came out of nowhere, and then when he flipped back, there was no announcement from him. It was just Michigan put it out there. He's committed. Oh, and it was over. We never heard anything out of him. So I don't know. I think that it was I don't want to say it was staged, but there was just something fishy about it. If so, could DJ Williams or Glass be looked at? Okay, DJ Williams committed to Auburn today, signed with Auburn. DeAndre Glass hasn't, so DeAndre Glass would probably be the go-to if Robinson was to decommit. Who will be Alabama's starting running back next year? DJ. Najee Harris would be my pick for starting running back. Who will be Alabama's backup quarterback? Probably Jalen Hurts. For some reason, I would love to see Jalen transfer somewhere and be the starter, be the guy. But for some reason, and I think that I said it all year. I thought that he was going to stay. I think that Jalen Hurts might stay, and he might just be the backup quarterback next year again. So there it is. Who is the most important recruit left for Bama? I think right now it's going to be defensive. It's going to be Sopsher or Toa to fill your linebacker position, your linebacker spot. And then Sopsher fills your defensive line need as well. So those would be my two big guys. Those would be my two that I would definitely push for and say we need these guys in our class. So Sopsher, Toa. Look for both of them to be in this this 19 class. If I had to say right now, so Jalen stays, becomes a grad assistant, follows his dad's roots. You know, never know. I still think Jalen has a shot to be an NFL quarterback. With the way he's progressed this year and the way he could continue to progress as a quarterback, you know, I think he could have a cup of tea in the league if he wanted. Which head coach do you think is the best recruiter? Are we going like best recruiter not named Nick Saban, DJ? Because if we're going best recruiter not named Nick Saban, and this is my my thing on the Saban disciples beating out Saban. So, you know, everybody talks about how, you know, Kirby is doing this, doing that, and he's pulling guys that, you know, he shouldn't have been able to pull. Well, remember, that was he was doing that for Alabama a couple years ago. So Kirby Smart was pulling guys for Alabama that Alabama, you know, they shouldn't have landed. Like, he went and got Reuben Foster out of Auburn High School. That kid was, you know, pretty much signed, sealed, and delivered to Auburn. And, you know, Kirby went in, got him. Though, so that's, you know, that's who Kirby is. He's a great recruiter. Do I think he's the best recruiter not named Nick Saban? For me, it's between him and Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal had the number 5 class in the country. You know, and for Oregon, pulling up the 5th ranked team in the, you know, 5th ranked recruiting class in the country. You know, that's big. That's big out west. So Kirby Smart and Mario Cristobal are probably the two best recruiters not named Nick Saban, but they also, he said head coaches. That's why I didn't say Tosh. So those two are probably the best head coaches not named Nick Saban. So Kirby got the bag, bro. Everybody has the bag. Georgia, y'all gotta chill with that, because everybody has bags. Doesn't matter who you are. Georgia got bags, okay? So does Alabama. So does LSU. So does everybody. Yeah, Tosh will definitely be a head coach soon. This was kind of the last step in the process to become a head coach, getting the coordinator title that he got this year. I don't know if it'll happen next year, but look for Tosh in the next 2 years to be a head coach. Jeremy Pruitt is a hell of a recruiter. That is true. Jeremy Pruitt is a very good recruiter. Look what he's done at Tennessee. He got kids that commit to Tennessee that had no business committing to Tennessee. And the one that sticks out to me is Wanye Morris. I mean, he got Wanye Morris to commit a long time ago, and he kept him through the whole process, which is impressive to me because Wanye Morris was one of my favorite offensive linemen in this class. I've seen him multiple times in person at camps and stuff, and that kid will be an NFL tackle. So Pruitt's doing some things. Give Pruitt a couple years at Tennessee, and they'll be good to go, guys. But yeah, so guys, once again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming out again. I know it's a little late, but we appreciate you guys here at CABC. We always have, we always will, and we will always do it for you guys, and it will always be free as always. Hold on one second before I sign off because I got DJ. DJ comes with fire questions, and I love that. I love when you get in here, DJ. Who's the best offensive tackle prospect I've ever seen? Ever seen in person? Ever seen in person? I haven't seen Neil in person, so I can't say Neil because I haven't seen him in person. The best one I've seen in person, Wanye's probably the best one I've seen in person. So that would be he would probably be my best one in person. Yeah, Wanye. He's a really, really good offensive lineman, guys. Like, I wish y'all could have seen him at the opening regional that I watched and that I was at because he dominated everybody. And he was a sophomore going into his junior year that year, and he was going up against KJ Henry and some of these other guys that are five-star guys, and he held his own. He did great. So thank you guys. How are you guys doing on your bowl picks? I actually haven't checked mine. I need to check mine. But remember, if you joined the bowl pick, you have a chance to win a free hat if you come out on top. So that's where we are with the bowl pick. If you entered, I think we had 20 people enter. So whoever comes out on top of the bowl pick will get a hat. I know you guys have been asking about hats, and we're working on it. Trust me, I promise. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, if you haven't already, follow us on social medias. CABC Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Once again, I'm going to plug Instagram again. Instagram, because we're trying to grow the Instagram. It hasn't grown as fast as some of our other ones, but please go follow the Instagram. Facebook, Crimson and Blue Chips. And then, obviously, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And then hit the bell notification. You'll get notified every time we go on and every time we post content to YouTube. So thank you guys again. God bless you, Randall. Appreciate it, man. That's awesome. We appreciate you guys. We do our shows for you guys because, there's your shoe game's fire. Appreciate it. So yeah, thank you guys. And until next time, for John Garcia, I'm Producer Kev, and y'all God bless. Have a good night, and happy signing day, fellas. You got a #1 class. God bless.